Deep in the Louisiana marshlands, isolated by miles of dense cypress trees, sits a decaying structure locals simply call the Church of No Return. Official state records show the building was condemned and boarded up in 1923 due to severe structural decay. But the surrounding towns knew the actual reason. Parishioners who walked inside to give their confessions never walked back out. Rome eventually nullies the disappearances. The Vatican dispatched Father Michael, a specialized investigator, to document the abandoned site and find out exactly what was swallowing the congregation. He arrived to find the building rotting in the heavy white fog. Hanging directly above the splintered entry doors was a rusted iron cross, bolted to the wood completely upside down. Michael stepped over the threshold. The exact moment his weight cleared the doorframe, the heavy wooden doors slammed shut behind him, deadlocking on their own. Standard physical traps rely on hidden wires or collapsing floors. The entity hunting in this sanctuary was far more efficient. It didn't need to break its victims' bones. It only needed them to be curious enough to sit down and listen. Michael navigated through the blackened nave. Every pew was shattered and coated in rot. The only structure left entirely untouched was the dark wooden confession box standing directly in front of the main altar. He called out into the dark. Silence. Then a faint tap, tap, tap echoed from inside the sealed booth. Michael took a seat, and through the lattice a heavy voice whispered, "Forgive me for what I became." As a priest, Michael was bound by oath to hear the sins of the penitent. He asked the voice what it had done to require forgiveness. The response was a single, chilling admission. "I listened." Instantly, the booth erupted. Vicious, frantic scratching tore at the wood from the inside, accompanied by a single phrase screaming on repeat. "Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't listen." The door of the booth swung violently open. There was no one inside, but smeared across the back panel in thick, dark blood were 5 words. "It hears through you." A standard confession cleanses the speaker. This architecture operated in reverse. The entity inside was not looking for absolution. It was using Michael's active attention as an open conduit to physically cross over into his mind. Hundreds of distinct, overlapping whispers flooded the empty sanctuary, calling him by name. Michael clamped his hands over his ears, but the volume didn't drop. He wasn't hearing the voices in the room. He was feeling them vibrate inside his own brain. A heavy stone panel ground open behind the altar, revealing a narrow staircase plunging into total darkness. Drawn by the dense knot of voices drilling into his skull, Michael descended. At the bottom lay a massive subterranean chamber. The stone walls were carved top to bottom with hundreds of names. In the exact center of the room gaped a wide black pit, the epicenter of the whispering. Something began to rise out of the hole. It had no fixed geometry. It was a shifting, flushy mass of hundreds of faces, some weeping, some locked in hysterical laughter, all speaking in perfect unison. We listened. Michael raised his crucifix, shouting an invocation to cast the demon out. He never finished the sentence. His vocal cords seized, violently crushed shut by an invisible grip. You cannot exorcise a room when the demon isn't in the room. Physical totems and holy rites offer zero protection against an auditory parasite that the host has willingly invited into their own consciousness. Days later, a recovery team from Rome breached the church. They found no physical trace of Michael. They only found his camera, lying on the floor with its final recording intact. On the tape, Michael sits alone inside the confession box. His eyes are solid, fathomless black. Staring directly into the lens, he calmly asks for forgiveness for what he has become. Then he leans into the microphone. His voice drops to a heavy, distorted rasp as he asks a single question. Can you hear them too? The tape cuts to static. This diagram shows exactly how the entity sustains itself. Michael was not killed. His consciousness was absorbed into a sprawling network. He became another node in the collective, repurposed as a new voice to lure the next investigator. The ruins still stand in the Louisiana marsh today, and the auditory trap is perfectly operational, waiting for anyone foolish enough to trespass. Its hunting radius extends deep into the surrounding woods. If you are walking through that fog and hear your specific name whispered from the trees, the parasite has already established a connection. It will haunt your quiet moments, wearing down your sanity until you inevitably walk back to that altar on your own. The only defense is total silence. If a voice in the dark calls out to you, do not reply, do not investigate, and do not listen. Because some voices are not asking for your attention, they are asking for your mind.